Hello, everyone. This is once again the Tuesday crew here with the Vendetta Sports Media Daily Show alongside Matt Hannafin. I'm Chris Bagdonis. What's going on, Matt?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I'm sorry if there's not a lot of light. Actually, I guess there is. Just looking at the camera, not a lot of light. It's not very sunny out where I'm at right now. It's pretty overcast, but I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Where do you want to start? We have a lot to get to.
I know we have a
I know I
lot to
did
go
miss
over
last.
today.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Where do you want to
I mean, we
start?
could we could pretty much go anywhere. We got some baseball, obviously March Madness in full swing in the NBA. I mean, I'm ready for anything.
You run the ship.
All right, I guess we might as well get the NBA out of the way just so that we can
Okay.
get to the main entree, if you will. But I got these scores. Obviously, we could talk all day about the New York Knicks and Julius Randle's career high 57 points, but a lot of good games going on in the NBA last night.
Yeah. The two games that I was really locked into last night was Timberwolves Knicks, and then also Bulls Sixers. I caught up with some of everything else this morning, but Timberwolves Knicks. I mean, the Timberwolves just
I
weren't
mean,
missing.
Torian
Torian
Prince.
Prince, 35 points, 8 of 8 from three. And this, by the way, this was all without Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns, who Shams reported this morning that they're expected to return Wednesday. But yeah, this is like Jaden McDaniels was incredible late in the fourth quarter.
Mike
Kyle Anderson,
Conley
really good. Mike Conley, 24 and 11.
turning back the clock.
Yeah, and this was frustrating for me because I had a two-team parlay with the Knicks and Sixers last night, and so that was also fun, watching both of them lose. But it was just like we couldn't even appreciate Julius Randle's 57. He had 26 in the third quarter alone. It didn't really feel like every time. I mean, yeah, he did bring Knicks back into the game in the third quarter, but like even like late, every time the Knicks tried to string together a run to kind of either close it out or get back into it, it just felt like Minnesota had every counter possible and they just weren't missing shots.
They had the
Which
answer.
I didn't love the defense from New York either. It just felt like an uncharacteristic Tibbs defensive game. But again, when
It's a
Torian Prince
weird,
is
yeah.
deep, it's not much you can do about it.
Yeah, it's weird. I feel like the Knicks have this troubling trend where I feel like they'll play up to their competition. They'll go toe to toe with the Celtics and the Bucks and the best of the East. But we've also seen them play down in their competition. Like, their big win streak couldn't be brought into double digits because they lost to the Charlotte Hornets at the Garden. And then obviously an Anthony Edwards list Timberwolves. They still gave up 140 points. And, obviously when the playoffs come around, you're not going to have to worry about playing down to teams. You're only going to, have a 7-game series against probably right now it would be the Brooklyn Nets in the first round, but still, you know, as a Knicks fan, I've said it, every time you've seen me on this daily show, it's just nothing but cautious optimism from my end. If we can win a playoff series, that would be amazing. And then we can just, we can take our second round beat down from the Celtics or the Bucks, and then that would be a great season in my books. But you know, you would really like to see these games go down in the win column, especially we're less than 10 games away until the playoffs start, and obviously Jalen Brunson's kind of been in and out of the lineup lately with some minor injuries, and Julius Randle, as we saw perfectly last night, is just one of the most consistently inconsistent players in basketball. And I mean, a game like that shows you why he was voted into the All Star
Yeah.
game this year, but hopefully the Knicks can round out into some sort of good form instead of just dropping like random games like this.
Also, every time I feel like I watch Manuel quickly, he hits like a big three and he's just jumping up and down with
He's
joy, which is
outrageous.
a
He's
good
gonna
thing. I'm
go,
not
yeah,
complaining about it, but it feels like there's so much more. He's got so much more like energy and bounce to his step this year compared to recent years. And that's saying something because he still was a very high energy, highly impactful player this year or in previous years.
totally.
But like
Yeah,
every time I see like he's just like jumping up with Jordan, it's like that's cool to see. Because you like it's cool to see like young stars or budding young stars, kind of like an Emmanuel quickly, like
Yeah.
have that type of energy and have that type of effect on his team. But like, there's just I feel like every time I watch it now, he's just jumping up and down with joy after every made shot. And that's a cool thing. And of course, Julius Randle. I feel like I've seen way more of this, like, oh, there's another 25-point quarter from Julius Randle. It's like, wait, what? I'm just like, I kind of like sit there and I'm like, wait, huh?
How did this happen?
Or like, because I see it on my phone or whatever it is, or sometimes I'm even watching it, like what happened against Miami,
Yeah.
or Team Redacted a few weeks ago. But
Yeah. I mean, it is
again, like that's 19 of 29 from the floor. Just an incredibly efficient game. I think I saw something this morning where it was like the second fewest shots for a 57-point game this year, something like that. So again, on good efficiency, hitting 8 threes, that's not something you're ever going to complain about with Julius Randle. But again, it sucks that there's not really much to show for it in the end. It's not like a detrimental loss, but still like 140 to 134. You allow 140 points to a Timberwolves offense that has kind of like been a roller coaster even since the trade deadline. And without Anthony Edwards, I mean,
yeah,
it's not great. But
yeah,
then
it's
like,
not.
You go to games like the Sixers Bulls.
Oh,
want to
yeah.
talk about some ugly basketball. It was double overtime and they only scored 105, 106 points. Yeah, that was some. I watched most of that game. It was tough, just from like a watchability standpoint. Like, yeah, there was missed shots and whatnot.
Oh.
James Harden wasn't good last night.
Oh man.
But like, even just like from like a ball control, like passing, like it was just sloppy. Just from everyone. It was like, I'm not even trying to single anyone out. It was just like I remember, like, especially in the first half, I mean, players were off balance. I mean, throwing passes out of bounds, couldn't get a handle on the ball. And it's just like, what am I watching? Like, it's two good defenses playing against each other. So it's like, I give them that. But it's the same time, it was just like, it just felt like just ugly, muck it up basketball. And I know what that looks like considering I'm a Heat fan. But it was a tough watch, but it was like Embiid fouled out in double overtime, which didn't help. DeRozan hit multiple big shots late in the fourth quarter, late in the first overtime to kind of seal it. Levine wasn't very efficient, but he was like good enough in the end. They got some impactful minutes from, like, of course, from Beverly, and Javonte Green finally returned, which was cool to see after he's been out, I think, for like 30 games or something like that.
Pretty long time.
D'Anthony Melton was very good for the Sixers late in the game.
Yeah, 19 off the bench.
But yeah, other than that, it was just kind of like an ugly game. And of course, like when Embiid fouls out, like Paul Reed comes in. Paul Reed isn't a bad player per se, but he's not like the fulcrum of your offense. And so again, that hurt him a little bit late. But I mean, Embiid 37 and 16, he was still really, really, really good. He might be the front runner for the MVP right now.
That's what I see. At least in terms of betting, he's moved ahead of Jokic.
Yeah, which isn't surprising. I mean, the Nuggets. I've been on the Nuggets all year. I like their team. I like what they've been doing. I think they're the best team, or they've been the best team in the West all season. But they've fallen off a little bit. They've struggled. They haven't looked good at all
down
within the last few weeks. And of course, when you play an 82 game season, you're going to get highs and lows all the time. Like that's not uncharacteristic for any team for that to happen to any team. But Denver has fallen off lately, and when it comes to like the MVP conversation of winning and losing games, Philly's been outstanding lately. I think they had an 8-game win streak heading into last night. They were beating the brakes on practically every team they were facing.
They've been pretty much the best team since Christmas, and if you look at records.
Right, and so it's like, I'm not going to sit here and say that Embiid isn't the MVP, but he's certainly in the discussion for it. I mean, of course, we can also have the same conversation regarding Giannis, who
Yeah.
who has
That game against Sacramento a couple nights
right.
ago was just groundbreaking.
Right, and they still was that the game that he had that he had the 23-point triple double on 100% shooting and they still lost. Was that the game I'm thinking of?
No, that was, I think Giannis dropped like 44 on the Kings. That's like when
Okay.
Brook Lopez got in the fight with what's his name?
Right. Okay. All right. I was thinking of something different. Yeah, but he did have like a 20, I think 23, 25 points, something like that, triple double. Went 9 of 9 from the floor, and then he still finished a -10 and they lost. And it was like, well. But
Anything
like,
is possible.
yeah, like the Bucks right now, if I were to pick, I think when I did the second half preview, I had Phoenix beating the Celtics in the finals. But like if I'm sitting here right now and picking like who do I think has the best shot to win the finals, I'm probably saying Milwaukee, and I'm not thinking twice about it. Like they've been again another really, really, really good team.
I think Chris Middleton's really rounding into form. You know, I feel
Right.
like when they won it all in 2021, he was a real X factor. A guy like,
Right.
you know, obviously Giannis, for all intents and purposes, is more of an interior guy, just a dominant player like a la Shaq in the paint. Obviously, he's got plenty of skills on the perimeter, but I think Chris Middleton has made his money in the NBA as a shooter and a scorer, primarily through his jump shot ability, and that's, you know, against the Atlanta Hawks in the conference finals, and then against Phoenix in the finals. Like, it's all about Chris Middleton. Obviously, last year when he was hurt against the Celtics, that really mattered. People started to, you know, notice how important he was for that team.
And well, I would also say the same with Drew. Like
he's been outstanding.
You want to have all three of them healthy, but like Drew he's so good defensively.
I think he hasn't
talked about enough how good of a defensive player he is, just from like he can guard 1 through 4, 1 through 5. He's so physically strong. He has good instincts. He has good foot speed. Like he's a remarkable defender. And then like when he's on you, like he's an incredibly physical, handsy defender, which isn't a bad thing if you're not committing 100 fouls a game, which he doesn't. But like I'm with you on Chris and Giannis. They've kind of just formed this trio to where it's like in a playoff series, it's just something that you don't want to go against. And of course, it feels like when all three of them are healthy, everyone else plays well, which is like, again, a testament to kind of the gravity that Giannis, Chris, and Drew all attract offensively. Like it feels like Grayson plays better. And then, of course, you have Bobby Portis and Brook Lopez.
Yeah.
Over
all sorts of guys now.
Right. Like you have like a good top 7 or 8.
Jay Crowder in there too is such a huge add. And I was just thinking to myself, like, when they're fully healthy, I think that Drew Holiday has an argument as being the best number 3 option in the NBA.
One of them,
you know, it's either, you know, DeAndre Ayton or Chris Paul in Phoenix. You could say Tyrese Maxey in Philadelphia. You know, there's not really, you know, in terms of his two-way impact, I just feel like, you know, Drew Holiday stands alone in that category.
Yeah, I would have to do a list. But he's certainly in that conversation for sure. For sure. No question about it. All right, what were the other games that happened?
Yeah, there was I saw after the Memphis and Dallas game, Kyrie Irving just gave his jersey to Dylan Brooks but didn't ask for the swap. That was awful.
I didn't see that. That is very funny though.
Kyrie drops 28 without Luka. Still lose again. I mean, it's not looking good for Dallas. And I saw Ja was in the building for Memphis, but you know, look at these four different players hit at least 16 points. You know, that's just a testament to the depth they have.
That shooting for Memphis is still yucky to me, but
yeah.
Listen, if they're able to get 28 points from Jaren Jackson Jr. without him fouling out, plus 20 more from Aldama, then that's a win in my book.
And that's a total win. I think if Jaren Jackson, especially in the playoffs, it's always been about his scoring to me. I think, you know, anyone who watches the NBA can kind of tell you how much of an impact he has defensively at the rim, and he's able to move his feet, and he's just such a great athlete. But I think if he's a bona fide, you know, number 2 option, if he can kind of take a step ahead of Desmond Bane as that number 2 offensive option, I really feel like the Grizzlies this could be a year where they really go deep.
I don't think he will, but like, if there's ever a time where you can get.
I can
You know,
see,
with
yeah.
the
I
production.
think about him in like a similar vein to like Anthony Davis. Like both are just two
Mm,
tremendous two-way players. But like we've seen with AD, I think in the Lakers win against the Magic, he only had like 15 points. Like he's a guy who doesn't have the on switch on every game. But when he does, you can't keep your eyes off of him.
fair, fair.
But
Also,
yeah, I can.
David Roddy, 2 of 9. I don't like seeing personally. I don't like seeing that. Where,
0
um,
for 3 from deep.
yeah, I don't.
I mean, Luke
But we
Kennard, I completely forgot about him.
and I want to say, like, wasn't Memphis also like down by a decent amount late in this game? Like it was like
Yeah, I
almost like a
can.
comeback win. I want to say that was the case. If my memory is serving me correctly, like they were down a
All right.
decent amount,
Yeah,
or
so
maybe
they
I'm
were.
uh,
See, at the
maybe not.
start of the fourth, yeah, at the start of the fourth, they were down by
Yeah,
13.
yeah, they were down. Okay, got it.
That's not a good game. Let's see if I can find how much it balloons out to. I mean, 11, 12, like right around that 13 mark. Oh, yeah, 14. Like, that's the thing. We all know that Kyrie Irving is just such a superstar with the ball in his hands, but the Mavericks still got to play defense with or without their two stars on the court.
Yeah, and like Jaden Hardy also had another like good game. I
Yeah,
like
20
Josh.
points off the bench, very good efficiency.
Josh
Yeah,
Green defensively, but you're right. Defense for them is a little hit and miss, and when they don't have both Irving and Doncic, Chelsea, definitely does impact how well they do on the floor.
and what stands out to me is I feel like the only like real traditional big man they have is JaVale McGee, who at 35, 36 is not going to be pushing the needle for you very much. If they had obviously it's a bit of a random shout, but a guy like Nick Claxton who can get you double pretty consistently, just one of those traditional big men. I think that would personally help Dallas a lot more. But obviously they can go 5 out pretty easily with both Kleba and Dwight Powell in the front court. But oops,
Joe Brown, we got to replace.
Kleba does a little bit of the same thing that McGee does. He's just not as big. Like
that's fair.
like
yeah,
a good 7'1". I mean, Powell I think's like what 6'9". Like
yeah,
he's a little
6'10" maybe.
undersized in the front court. Yeah, just a little bit. It's not
Just a tad.
Serious. Yeah.
Here, I'll see what the rest of the slate was. The Pacers and the Hornets. Pacers are starting to flame out of the play-in conversation.
They were another team that was up a lot early in the game. Yeah, they were up 18 after the end of the first, but
wow,
it subsequently closed. They were without Tyrese. I didn't watch a second of this game, but
yeah, I mean either. The Warriors.
The Warriors finally won a game on the road. Wow.
Yeah, comes at a good time with another 9 games left in the season.
Yeah,
Curry
they
with
need everything
30.
they can get.
Yeah. Tari Eason had a good game for Houston.
Jabari is finally starting to come into his own. I've watched more and more. I didn't watch it last night, but I've watched more and more of him lately. He's finally starting to like figure a lot of things out offensively and defensively. I feel like he's been much more efficient lately. I think he's getting to his spots easier. And I think part of the struggles, at least at the beginning of the year, is just I don't like Houston's guard play that much, if I'm being completely honest with you. It just doesn't feel like they set everyone else up well. I mean, of course, when you get the Jalen Green 40-point performances like he had the other night, you'll take it and run with it. But it still feels like just in terms of setting up the offense and having like conducive actions to your system, it doesn't feel like Houston had a lot of that. It just felt like a lot of like pick and roll and then Not much else, but I really do like what I've seen just from the eye test from Jabari lately. I think he fits well in the front court with Şengün. But I mean, of course, Şengün didn't play last night, but like I feel like we're seeing like progression from Jabari within the last 10, 15 games of the season. And of course, like I like him defensively. I think he's a good defensive player. I think he can guard multiple positions. He's a good rim protector. He's good on the weak side. Like I like what I've seen from Jabari at this point in the season. I don't think he's not like blowing me out of the water like Apollo or even like a Jalen Williams lately, but
Right.
I still think he's like progressing well just from the eye test. I don't, maybe the numbers don't back that up. I don't know, but.
And it is interesting that you bring up the Houston guard play, because this time next year they really could reinvent their backcourt. Obviously,
Scoot.
they're in the Victor sweepstakes, obviously, and they probably would want to end up with Victor. But imagine they get Scoot Henderson, and obviously we keep seeing reports about James Harden potentially returning to Houston. And I think a guy like James Harden, especially in this playmaking phase of his career where he's definitely become more of a pass first guy than taking the shot like his former tenure in Houston. I think that could really help those young guys, especially a guy who's been an MVP, who's played in big playoff games, although he hasn't had, unfortunately, the most playoff success, but still just having a guy who also, I think, loves the community in Houston. I think he's done a lot of work out in Texas. I think that could be very good for the Rockets, and I think they could potentially be building something, especially if they add a quality young piece in the draft this year.
Yeah, and it just feels like such a Scoot team to me. Like he would fit very well, just because of his playmaking. I think he's one of, if not the best. I mean, he or like Amin Thompson, like two of the best playmakers in this upcoming draft class. I think it would just fit well with like what they need in terms of guard play. Now I don't necessarily know what that would mean for like the future of like Kevin Porter Jr.
Right.
or something like that. I know Kenyon Martin Jr. KJ wanted out beginning of the year, and he still hasn't gotten traded yet. So I don't know what that means for him. Not that it matters, not that it has anything to do with Scoot or Amin, but like it just feels like Houston's in need of a table setter. And
Totally.
like those are two of the best guys. At least I haven't watched as much Amin as I have Scoot, but like it feels like they certainly have the potential to be like quality table setters and quality playmakers. I mean, I know Amin, his efficiencies isn't great. He's a ridiculous athlete, but his efficiency isn't great. That'll probably come with more reps at the professional level. Scoot also hasn't been incredibly efficient, at least from beyond the arc, from what I can recall. But again, I'm not necessarily worried about that with him. He's a bulldog defensively. He's only like 17 or 18 years old, I think. He's still like a really, really, really young
That's so
prospect.
much room.
He's very athletic, and he has remarkable vision. He knows what passes to make at certain points. His timing with his passes, his accuracy, his velocity are all very good, at least in my opinion. And so I think that like they're not necessarily a Victor Wem. Like if they get Victor, awesome. Victor and Şengün would be. I don't know how that would work yet, but you kind of just figure that out as it goes.
Just make it happen, yeah.
Like even like a Scoot or even an Amin Thompson, it just feels right to me. But regardless,
I agree. I think that's definitely the next logical step for this rebuild. But I guess I can just quickly pull up the other games, and then we can move into March Madness or the World Baseball Classic or some NFL free agency. We got a lot on the slate. Yeah.
I'm just here to talk about whatever. Rant about anything.
We can't. No lighting the beam last night for the Kings.
Nope.
Oh, Chaya,
unfortunately,
wow, great game. Saw Sabonis after winning Player of the Week. Didn't follow it up with almost a triple double though, so I can't knock him for that. But
it's also sucks because it's like I follow a lot of Lakers fans, And like this game, and there was another game last night, and the Minnesota game. Like it just felt like they were just like, man, we're not even playing. We took an L. Like just because I mean the Lakers, as of right now, we can pull up the standings.
Yeah, we can.
Like as of right now, the Lakers are a half game out, and there's like a 3-way tie with the Thunder, Wolves, and Jazz for the 8, 9, and 10 spots. And it's just like those wins last night from
really
Utah
did not help
against the 2-seeded or the 3-seeded Kings, plus the Wolves just lighting
the Knicks up.
Yeah.
Let me just see what their schedule's looking like. Oh man, they have a big one against the Suns tomorrow.
Yep.
This guy right here is also crazy, but we can save that for another time.
Austin Reeves has been awesome this year, dude.
Has been amazing.
Oh, it feels like every time I watch him, he's going off for 20, 25. He's an incredibly crafty offensive player. Like he's been. I watched a little bit of. I watched some of the first half and then most of the second half of their game against Orlando the other night, and Reeves was. Like it felt like far and away the best player in that game, and I think the numbers to an extent back there. But he's been on a heater. Like even against Houston and Dallas, he was still good. Not as good, but he was still good in my opinion. But like he was remarkable against Orlando, and he's been just awesome. I think this entire year, I think he's really taken a step of growth in his game and.
The month of March, just look at it, 17.8 points per game. That's especially in LeBron's absence. I mean, that's exactly what you couldn't ask for anything more than that from him. And D'Angelo Russell, it seems like he's got a real shot at getting an extension with the Lakers.
Possibly.
He's been awesome. I think he's been. Especially with the way he's kind of seen LA, and obviously did not go that great in his first time around. But now you look, 20 points per game, 7 assists, like quality efficiency, more or less, 3.5. Yeah, I mean, almost 40%. Like
there are a few times though where I do watch D'Angelo and I'm like, what? Exactly.
That's true. The average is lifted up from this 33-point game against the Knicks, and then the rest isn't looking that great. But
right, like I could see like from a Laker fan perspective how at times D'Angelo's shot selection can just drive people insane. At times, not all the time, but like he's also one who's a bad shot maker in terms of like he can make bad shots.
He's got that ability.
Maybe he's not maybe he's like, so there's always that trade-off. But I would say he's also been really good. He went, I think it was head-to-head that game against the Knicks
it was him and Randall and Russell they went punch for punch in that game. And that's, I mean, I think LeBron, I saw he's out of his boat, the cast or the boot or whatever he's in. And I think, I don't know why. I just have this gut feeling that if the Lakers are fully healthy and hitting their stride, it could just be like one of those years where they just pull a run to like the conference finals maybe or something or more. But I'm not gonna go that far because there are definitely, we could talk all day about Trey's lack of faith in the Denver Nuggets among other things. But it's gonna be quite the home stretch we're in for.
Did he place a curse on the Nuggets that I missed?
I don't think he cursed the Nuggets.
Okay.
Not to my knowledge.
Just like I was just thinking, like ever since, like it just feels like they've been bad just very bad the last like 2 weeks, and it's just like But again, there's highs and lows for practically every NBA team to some extent in an 82 game season. So if I'm a Denver fan, I'm not really worried about.
Better to get it out now.
Just stay healthy ahead of the playoff run.
But. Obviously, lost 5 of their last 7. They do have a game against the Wizards coming up that they should hopefully win. But, like you just said, I'm not too worried. But we could switch gears now to these guys right here.
Yeah, man. I was in Sacramento for the weekend, and I was at the Sacramento slate for these games, and it was a lot of fun. we got to see. I was with my dad, and then I saw some extended family. But and I was also able to meet up and talk with Cervantes for a little bit, which was really
That's
cool.
awesome.
But like we saw both of Princeton's victories over Arizona and Missouri. Unfortunately for me, my Mountain West agenda didn't really bode well this weekend. Boise State lost to Northwestern. Utah State lost to Missouri in the opening round. And then, of course, my Nevada Wolfpack just got promptly dog-walked in the first 4 against Arizona State. But we don't need to talk about that.
Yeah, I'm
San
not
Diego
going
State won.
to
But
yeah,
like
San Diego State, we could obviously they got a big one against Alabama, but still.
Yeah, we also saw UCLA. That was really cool. They had a good game against Northwestern. I think it was Saturday night. But yeah, this has been like, I don't know how your brackets have been doing. I did 6 of them, and I haven't looked at most of them lately. Practically all of them are probably just like burned to the ground at this point. I know
mine's pretty much burnt. I'm actually in a challenge with someone who has FAU winning the whole thing. So right now his bracket's actually looking very good. But there's a chance it goes sideways. But somehow 3 of my final 4 picks in Alabama, Houston, and UCLA are all still in it. So I have a chance to salvage it somewhat. I had Duke, I'll be honest, but we don't have to talk about Duke that much.
I know in 2 of my money ones, or no, I have 2 money ones that I do in a pool with like just a bunch of people that I know. And I know in one of them I had Arizona winning it. And so that sucks.
that was a shocker.
Yeah. And then who did I also had, I think, Duke go into the Final Four in the other. So that was cool too.
Yeah, that just fell on its face pretty quickly for both of us.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who I had. I had Kansas winning in like 1 or 2 of my 6 or whatever, and it was just like, that's also cool. But just in general, I've had a lot of fun watching these games. I mean, just like how it is every year, but it just feels like each and every year there's more and more parity. I mean, it was weird this year. Usually the most common like big upsets, like as you probably know, the 12 over the 5. I think that's the most common just statistically. Maybe the 11 over 6s too. I don't know. But there were no 12 over 5 upsets this year, but there was a 13, a 14, a 15, and a 16 seed who all won at least one game. And like, it was just, it feels like there's more and more parity each and every year.
Totally.
The Furman game was like, the Furman win over Virginia was just nuts. It's like, way to tip off the tournament, fellas. The second or third game of like the slate, that like ridiculous shot after a pass. I don't know why Clark made that pass, but listen, he made the pass.
Just call the timeout. I feel like it's the easiest thing in the world. Like, and I saw the video they had, the camera feed of Kevin Harlan and like Stan Van Gundy doing the play-by-play, and they were just like, Kevin Harlan obviously, like, he was just so animated. He, like, I don't know how he's able to keep his voice like so clean and like pristine while he's like moving around, like almost falling out of his chair. Like, that is just so hilarious to me. But I mean,
Stan looks like he lost a big bet.
It looks like Stan like put a lot of money on the Virginia money line.
I don't think
it's just all burned down.
I think he said it on one of the subsequent broadcasts. Like, this was his first time, I think, calling the NCAA tournament, and that was his first game.
Can't get a much better introduction than that.
Right. And so I think he might have been just pure shock, but like, he looked like me after losing like the final leg of a four leg parlay.
Exactly. Get the first 3 legs done, and then you're on the last one, and you're like 1 rebound short or 1-3 short or something like that.
Yeah, right. But anyways, who do you have? Like, looking at the bracket right now, like, is there any teams that jump out to you as like teams that could either surprise someone or teams that have the best shot at making the Final Four?
I mean, in terms of a surprise, I mean, I just feel like you got to include Michigan State at this point. Tom Izzo just keeps finding a way to to make lemonade out of lemons. It really, as soon as he's in the tournament, you just got to keep an eye on him. And I think if they're able to get past Kansas State, I think they are absolutely loving the matchup between either Tennessee or FAU. And anything is possible at this point. And then, I mean, elsewhere, I feel like maybe Arkansas has a chance to surprise some people, but I feel like it would be a tall task against either Gonzaga or UCLA.
Who? Well, scroll down. Let's see the other.
Yeah, and then
Or
up
scroll
here,
up.
Creighton and Princeton. That's going to be interesting. I feel like Princeton, if Creighton starts slow, I feel like Princeton could really catch them.
Yeah. No, Princeton. They have two guys, Tosan. I don't even know how to say his last name, and then Ryan Langborg, who have both had like really good tournaments so far. But they're like, it feels like Mitch Henderson, their head coach, has done like a remarkable job scouting so far. At least he did in the Arizona game with Balo and Tubelis. Courtney Ramey had a bad game. Kirk Reese had a bad game. And so like they did a remarkable job scouting there. It feels like they did a good job scouting like Kobe Brown and Missouri well. With Creighton, it's interesting because it's like they have Nemhard, they have Kalk Renner, they have who else am I missing? Oh, they have Baylor Shireman, who was a South Dakota State transfer. He was one of the most highly sought out transfers heading into this season. So it's like they have firepower offensively. I don't know. Princeton's going to have to, again, put together another very well done scouting job. I want to say like Creighton was one of the more like efficient offenses in the nation last year or this year, if I can remember correctly. But they also do have a very, very, very good defense. Let me look it up while I'm just thinking about it right now, so my memory's not losing. Like this is a very get it, a 6 versus a 10 or 6 versus a 15
Definitely.
On paper just isn't the most intriguing match. Yeah, Creighton has per Ken Palm. They have a top 25 offense and a top 15 defense.
Really?
And they are a very efficient team from the floor with multiple guys who can get buckets.
I think you see 36% from three in college is a very good number. I think almost 47% from the field. It's not bad, and especially in the tournament where it's just a game of runs when you're able to get hot and keep guys from making shots. I feel like personally I'm like my sister goes to Villanova, so I was a Villanova fan. I thought they were going to be able to make something happen in the Big East, but it wasn't meant to be. And now Creighton has a very good chance of making it to the Sweet 16.
You mean
the Elite Eight?
Elite Eight, Final Four, one of the two.
Yeah, there's too much information in my brain right now. It's just too much going on.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree there. Here's go back to this. My team. If I were to pick a couple teams, I'm with you with Michigan State. I mean, I've been impressed with their guard play with Tyson Walker and AJ Hogard. Joey Hauser is a sniper. They just find ways to win. But like Kansas State, they also have Marquise Noel, who's like a 5'8" shifty point guard. Keontae Johnson has been one of the best stories in college basketball.
Oh yeah,
happened with him at Florida.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and like Jerome Tang is like, I think Kansas State was projected to finish last in the Big 12 heading into the year, or like they were projected to be like one of the last teams, and now they're the 3 seed in the NCAA tournament. So Tang is definitely in contention for like Coach of the Year in that respects. But it's so hard betting against Izzo, man. Like I'm completely.
Oh yeah, you really can't.
It's so hard. But also like I think before their win against USC, I saw something where he like lost 3 of the previous 4 games, like NCAA tournament games that his teams played heading into that game, which I found was interesting. It just doesn't feel like Tom Izzo like. But regardless, I mean, it feels like Michigan State, they've had a bit of an up and down climb this year. Which isn't necessarily surprising because they schedule so many. They always have one of the more difficult non-conference schedules in the entire nation each year.
Totally.
It feels like they're playing their best basketball right now, but I wouldn't say Kansas State isn't either.
Yeah, I mean, it's really going to be a real
degree.
good game.
And then, of course, I mean, personally, I'm never going to bet against an Eric Musselman team. I'm just not. I've been on the Muss bandwagon. I mean, he was at Nevada for 4 years. Did a remarkable job here. I've been on bandwagon for 7-8 years now. And it feels like his team, like it just in a one-game elimination, he knows how to take away whatever another team wants to do and loves to do. This is one of his younger teams that he's had since he's became a head coach at the collegiate level. He has, of course, Nick Smith, Anthony Black, Jordan Walsh. Like he has a bunch of just young freshmen, which I guess isn't not to say concerning, but like I would more so bet against like veteran or not bet against.
Yeah.
I put my money more on like veteran, like lead guard play at this time of year. But like Musselman's so good at just taking away whatever team wants to do. He's so good with the scouting. He knows how to get his teams ready for these types of games. And so, like, for, like, a UConn, like, I'm just interested to see. I mean, Arkansas is a little undersized in the front court, so I wonder how they counter, like, an Adama Sanogo or, like, a Donovan Clingan. And, like, of course, Andre Jackson's, like, probably projected top 20, 25 pick. He's not necessarily the biggest floor spacer in the world. Who is there? They have another shooter, Jordan Hawkins. Who was, I think, 4 for 5 in their most recent game. Like, they have a good, like, Dan Hurley is like another one, kind of like Musselman, who knows how to play to a team's strengths and he knows how to take away. And of course, UConn was like one of the best teams in the country towards like the beginning, middle of the season.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the Big East play was a little bit rougher for them. I mean, Big East is like, again, a Power 6 conference. But like, this is like if you thought Rick Pitino and Dan Hurley were two guys on the sideline, like Musselman and Hurley is like another one where it's like you want to watch the sidelines because these guys are just highly energetic. They're
built for the moments exactly like this.
They're highly energetic, highly competitive. They know how to win these types of games. I mean, I think
very intelligent guys.
Yeah, this isn't. I want to say this isn't the first time they faced off. There was a game when I think it was like either Must's first or second year, I believe, at Nevada, where Rhode Island came to town when Hurley was still there, and it was still another very high. Like Rhode Island at the time was
very tight,
in the country, and they're just two highly competitive coaches and two highly competitive people with two teams who have very good athletes. I mean, Arkansas, I think, led the nation in dunks this year. And of course, they have high flyers. I mean, if Nick Smith doesn't go scoreless again, I think Arkansas has a chance to win this game. I know I love Anthony Black just as a prospect. I know he didn't have the best game against Kansas. But I still think that, like, if you can get, like, I mean, I know Devo Davis and Ricky Council just completely went off against Kansas, but, like, if you can get good performances out of, like, your 4 top guys for Arkansas, I think they have as good of a shot as anyone to win this game and potentially make – I mean, this would be their 3rd straight Elite 8 for Arkansas. I don't think they haven't gotten past that point. But, like, again, like
still very impressive.
Yeah, like UCLA lost David Singleton, who's one of their best shooters, against Northwestern. He went down. I don't know the official prognosis of the injury, but it didn't look good. And then, of course, I mean, you have to deal with Drew Timme in the paint. Julian Strother is one of the best shooters left in the field. Tiger Campbell is a good, solid playmaker. Who can occasionally get hot. Jaime Jaquez is Jaime Jaquez. He's one of the best players in the nation. This will be a very fun game just from like a watchability standpoint because
it's gonna move fast. I feel like.
Oh yeah. Two very fast offenses. UCLA is, I think, the most efficient defense in the entire nation. And so that's going to be fun just to see what kind of stuff they throw at
Yeah.
Timmy, UCLA doesn't have they don't have a deep front court. So I'm interested to see how they counter that. And then scroll up.
Oh yeah.
Let's just hit on some of these other games really quick.
Texas Xavier is going to be very good.
That's a sneaky game. Sule Boom is a very fun watch if you want someone to watch. I know Colby Jones isn't the most efficient guard, but I still like what he offers on the defensive end of the floor. And who else might? Like Jack Nungy is just the biggest human you've ever seen, probably. But then, of course, Texas also has guys like Marcus Carr and Timmy Allen to just throw at different bodies that Xavier has. And so I think this is a very kind of flying under the radar 3-2 matchup.
Totally.
Very much anticipating being a good game in this week's.
Bring back the others.
Miami, Houston. I know Houston, they're without. Are they still without Sasser? I think they'll. I don't know if they'll. Did he play?
He did play against.
Okay, he did play. Okay, all right. I'm not because I know he got hurt against Cincinnati in their conference championship. I don't. I didn't know what his availability was looking like. If they have him along with like Jarris Walker, they should have a very good chance. I mean, I know Isaiah Wong. Who's Miami's other guard? I'm blanking on his name, but like they have two very good guards that are capable of taking over games. They're another team that you're gonna be in a track meet with. It's gonna be very fast tempo offense. They do have occasion. Nigel Pack, that's what I'm thinking of. They do have times where they do have a little bit of like scoring droughts or whatever, but it's like this is a team that Houston's going to have to defend very well. And of course, I trust Kelvin Sampson at this time of year. I just naturally trust I think he made a Final Four. It was either last year or 2 years ago. Houston's perpetually a number 1, number 2 seed every year. They're one of the best teams in the nation. They're one of the best defensive teams in the nation each year. And as long as they have Marcus Sasser and Walker, I think, again, they have as good a chance as anyone is making a Final Four and potentially national championship run. Alabama, San Diego State. I'm not super bullish on San Diego State's odds coming into this game. Like San Diego State, just to give you the full scouting report, like they're top 5 defense. They will muck shit up in the half court, but they're also going up against another top 5 defense who has a top 15 offense, and or top 15, top 20, top 25 offense with a top 5 pick in Brandon Miller, who you have pulled up right there.
Yeah,
they have good guard play. Javon Quinterly, Mark Sears, 2 very good guards who love to push the tempo. Who they have a big guy. I can't remember. Charles Bediako, and Noah Clowney, who are 2 interior presences who will counter anything that San Diego State's Nathan Mensah or like Jaden Leday will do. I mean, Nathan Mensah was a 2-time back-to-back Mountain West Defensive Player in the Year. And I think he'll be neutralized by the presence of Bediako, who's another very, very, very good 2-way big. I don't know if San Diego State will score enough. I mean, their offense they're not the prettiest offense in the world, if I'm being completely honest with you, but they know how to score points. I mean, they're incredibly deep. Matt Bradley's averaging, I think, about 13 a game. Lamont Butler's been good. They have another good small guard in Darian Trammell, who was a transfer this last offseason. Like, they're a deep team. They had one of the most productive benches in the nation. They're going to switch 1 through 5, and so you might see some times where they accidentally get like a Lamont Butler on like a Bediako or something like that. Which, I mean, they're not as big as a Alabama. I was talking to Cervantes a little bit about this weekend, but it's like I think San Diego State can make it difficult for 30 to 35 minutes. I don't think it's going to be a game where, again, I just don't know if San Diego State will score enough. I mean, Neither team forces a ton of turnovers, but they're both very good defensive teams because they keep each other in front. But this will have to be a game where San Diego State forces a bunch of turnovers. And I don't think either team is necessarily bad at like turning the ball over either. But San Diego State's going to have to be in a position where they're going to have to turn Alabama over and get out in the break and at least just try to keep up with them. Because, again, like when you have a top 5 lottery, you have a top 5 pick, you have good guard play, and you have players on the inside who will neutralize your best big man. Like, it's going to make it tough. And San Diego State is one of the better teams at shooting inside the area. I mean, they're not always the most efficient three-point team, but as long as like Matt Bradley or Micah Parrish or even like Adam Seiko are able to like hit shots, multiple three-pointer shots. I mean, Seiko in Mountain West play was phenomenal this year, but he's like the natural 3-and-D guy. Like, he's not going to get much up inside the arc. He'll get a few attempts a game from beyond the arc, but he has to get those up.
Yeah.
So it's like if he can get going, if Bradley can continue scoring 15, 16 points a game, if they can get something off their bench with either a Keyshot or Parrish, who had 16 in their game against Furman, like San Diego State has a decent shot to win. Like, I wouldn't necessarily rule them out. Brian Dutcher is an incredible head coach. He's been the model of consistency for mid majors outside of Gonzaga, if you even consider Gonzaga major at this point. For the last several years, he's done a remarkable job with that program. But it's just it's not necessarily the best matchup for San Diego State in terms of like, again, like San Diego State's going to really have to make things difficult, which they have capability of doing.
They're able to do it
in the half court, but they're going to have to keep up. And I'm just interested to see how they kind of counter, how they're able to do that. Because again, like some of Alabama's best offense is just in transition. And San Diego State prides itself on trying to drain the shot clock as much as possible and making life as difficult as possible. And they have lengthy guys. Like Agueco Rope is a lengthy guy. Like Jaden Leday is another one. Like Parrish. Like they have guys who they have good wings who they could possibly throw at Brandon Miller. But again, like I know Alabama off rebounds, especially off live rebounds and off turnovers, off live ball turnovers, are going to get out and run. And I just kind of wonder how, like, if San Diego State's able to slow that game down, I think they have like a good chance to win. But again, I'm repeating myself over and over again. I just don't know if they have enough scoring.
Yeah, it is. I think you summed it up perfectly, and it really will come down to if you can slow down Brandon Miller. But then if you were able to do that, we've seen he went scoreless in the first round, but they just got so many other guys who can hit shots. And you just said on the glass they're a very good team, and I for one am looking forward to it because, like you said, if they are able to slow things down a little bit and make it, just keep themselves within arm's reach of Alabama, especially in the second half, I think anything could happen. But I guess we'll just see. We kind of touched on Tom Izzo in Kansas State, and UCLA. I mean, should be a very good conclusion to this college basketball tournament.
Yeah. So, all right, I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit. Who do you have in the Final Four?
So I originally
just with how the bracket's constructed right now. With your Final Four now.
Yeah, as things stand right now, I honestly think I'd have to put Alabama, Houston, UCLA, and Michigan State.
Alabama, UCLA. What? Say that. Alabama, UCLA.
Alabama, Houston, UCLA, and Michigan State.
Okay. Naturally, I wanna tail you, but I'm trying to think if
I'll bring
some
this
out of the box.
I mean, Trey made the good point. If Texas gets past Xavier and they play Houston, it could be very interesting in that game.
That's another first to 60. Actually, not that wouldn't be necessarily first to 60 game, but two incredibly good defenses. And Texas is very well coached, even after Chris Beard got fired for bad guy stuff. Alabama, I like Alabama.
Especially, if they get past San Diego State, I don't think Creighton or Princeton will put up too much of a fight.
I like Alabama. I like Texas. I do like Houston too. Creighton is another sleeper that I'm keeping my eye on.
That's true. I'm not gonna dismiss them entirely.
Like that, I think a Creighton Alabama Elite Eight game would be a very, very good game. Just two very
Must watch TV.
fast-paced offenses, two very good defenses. That would be a very interesting matchup, which I think in all likelihood could happen.
Totally.
But I'll go with Alabama, Houston. Do I want to go UConn?
I mean,
Do I want to go Gonzaga? Do I want?
Hurley
I don't know
could
who
do
I
it, man.
want.
Hurley could do it.
But I also don't want to go against Muss, even though the odds do not stack up well for him. I'll go Alabama, Houston, Michigan State. No, actually, no. I'm going to change that a little bit. I'm going to go Alabama, Texas,
Okay.
UCLA, Alabama, Texas. I can't make up my mind. Alabama, Texas. I'll throw a curveball here. Alabama, Texas, UConn, and Michigan State. We're gonna get really fancy with this. Because it's
Alabama,
March Madness. No one knows anything.
Hey,
about
exactly. It's March Madness, man. Anything can happen. We've already saw FTU take down Purdue, so that no one is safe when March rolls around.
Yeah, we were just starting our fantasy draft for baseball when that happened.
Yeah,
I had that on a different screen. I was like in between picks. I was like, I'd glance over and like watch like the last like few minutes of it. It was just like,
I can actually I'll throw that up now that you mention it. The Vendetta Fantasy Baseball League is officially underway. I'll try and find everyone.
Yes. How do you feel about your team? What?
I like my
96
team.
hours removed. How do you feel about your team?
I'm a fan. Obviously, as soon as I saw Aaron Judge fall to me, I was like, it's got to happen. You got to take Aaron Judge. And then I really did not prioritize pitching. I'm happy I managed to get out of there with Luis Castillo, but definitely not my my finest work in terms of my starting rotation and bullpen. But again, I'm buying in on the Jose Barrios bounce back. I'm relying on Clayton Kershaw to have at least another quality year in him. And then, like Milo pointed out, Tony Gonsolin, a lot of injury-prone guys. And also I'm very happy that Manny Machado went down to my spot. I'm thrilled to get him. And I think being able to switch at shortstop between Corey Seager or Dansby Swanson, I think that'll really help as the season rolls on. And I'm not – this is my first time doing fantasy baseball, so I'm not going to say anything crazy like I'm going to win it all or anything, Trey seems pretty set that he's going to finish better than 10th place.
As soon as I did see that, I was like, "Oh, Milo, you are waking up a beast that you do not want to wake." I remember.
I don't know if Bryce Harper is going to be traded anymore now. I think he's staying with Team Daubert.
No, yeah, I don't. Here, hold on. Keep.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if it's been published yet, but I did do my, what was my thought process behind each of my picks, and I'll go into that in a little bit. But one of the things I did credit you in that was taking Judge, because he was one of the guys at 4 who I was picking between, and I can't believe you were 9th?
I was at 11th. He fell to 11.
I don't know how.
I don't get it.
I
get it.
It's a little biased because, again, you see the flag right there, right behind me, whatever it is. I'm a little biased, but, at the same time, you're still probably going to get, assuming he stays healthy, which is, that's probably the biggest concern at this point. You're still going to get MVP level production. He might not hit 60 home runs again.
I was going to say exactly that, but still the best power hitter in the game.
35, 40 with – he's in a run-producing lineup at the top of the order. He's going to get 90.
There's going to be guys on base for him when
plus
he's up.
RBIs. Yeah. He's going to hit for average. last year he hit over 300, I believe.
He was in the batting. He was almost hit the Triple Crown also.
Right. So it's he's hitting more for average. He draws a lot of walks. I mean, yeah, the strikeouts aren't great, but you can live with that, assuming you get everything else right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I can't believe like he was one of the few guys I was choosing between him. Who else? I'll pull it up in a little bit, but like I was choosing between him, of course, Trey Turner, the guy who I eventually took, Vladdy.
I can find your
Go to the first round.
the first round.
Yeah, if you can go to like the league bar up at the top, and they'll have like the
Oh
draft,
yeah. Oops.
the draft recap. There was a few different guys I was choosing between. I can't remember off the top. Oh yeah, I was choosing between Trey, Jose Ramirez, Mookie, and Judge. That was like my final four. I did think about Vlad, but I know he did recently get hurt, so I was like, I don't really.
Yeah, it's a bit of a risky bet. Everyone thinks the breakout year is coming, but injuries is definitely something that he's had to deal with.
Yeah. But I was choosing between those four. I did eventually choose Trey, but I still like Judge falling to 11 was like, whoa, like that's surprising. Maybe people are like, maybe the people are staying away because it's like, all right, he's not going to hit 60 home runs again. He might get hurt. Like, who the heck knows? He is 31, I believe. So if people are factoring that into their draft pick,
I was in all honesty, I was so worried that when who was it? It was Anthony Miranda who had number 6. I was worried that he was going to auto draft Judge, but it went with Garrett Cole instead, which honestly I don't think is a very bad pick because he led the major leagues in strikeouts last year.
Right, but like, is that so? Like, where do you see yourself relative to everyone else?
If I finish, or I don't know how the standings work. I was telling myself if I finish top 4, top 5 in the season, I'll be happy. Because I think it is like all on my lineup to produce more than the pitching staff to really shut guys down. Obviously, I'm banking on Luis Castillo to get into the Cy Young conversation this year, but there's a lot that, and I'm also betting on Clay Holmes to be the guy we saw in the first half of the season who was lights out. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and if I'm a top 5 team by the end of the season, I'll be happy. If I'm in the playoffs, if I can do a little bit better than I did in the Vendetta hockey ring, then I think I'll be happy with myself.
Where'd you finish in the hockey?
I'm gonna miss the playoffs because I need to be more diligent with it. I wouldn't schedule my lineups every day. I'd like forget. I'd be doing something else, and then I'd be like, oh, a game starts. One of the players on my fantasy hockey team scores like a hat trick, and he's on my bench. Like, just stuff like that. So I definitely need to be on top of that more if I actually want to think about having a chance in the baseball fantasy.
Yeah, I remember 2 years ago. 2 years ago was believe it or not, I did fantasy hockey. And I was in a league with Trey. And I actually surprisingly I ended the season again, no idea what I was doing in terms of just like from fantasy hockey. No idea what I was doing in terms of like the players I had. There was a couple players that I knew. I think I had maybe like Marchand or whatever, but it's like just generally, I don't even remember like my team. I was like, no idea what I was doing. I surprisingly got like 500 or close to it.
It's not bad at all.
Like, usually if I was getting 500 in a fantasy league, like I do fantasy basketball every year. This is probably my 3rd or 4th year doing fantasy baseball. And so it's like I get those 2 sports. I know about those 2 sports. But when it came to hockey, I was like, I want to say I went like 8 and 9 or like 9 and like something around there. Like I was close. But also at the same time, like my first introduction to GM Trey was he made me trade him. He was bugging me for effing effort. I was trying to trade him Huberto at the time.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, like it was like there was like a 2-week span where like he would DM me every day. He's like, dude, like here, how about this offer? Something like that. I thought it was funny, but like I eventually caved in at one point because at first I was like,
you will not take no for an answer.
And he was like, no, you got to do it, dude. Your team's not doing anything. And I was like,
you're just saying that, Trey.
Yeah, I was like, I eventually did trade him Huberto though, and I think he ended up winning like convincingly.
Yeah, Trey's going for the three-peat
Um,
this year, so that'll be. I
yeah.
mean, he's in pole position to do it, but still.
Wait, no, was it 2 years ago? Or was it last year? I don't remember what. But regardless, he beat the brakes off me. It was no, it was last season. It was last season, not 2 years ago. It was last season. But regardless, I did all right for my fantasy.
I mean, I'm really looking forward to this fantasy baseball season. I think everyone's got a pretty good team, more or less. And there were definitely some steals, some snipes, if you will. That was a lot of fun doing that draft with you guys. That was really cool. But
Here,
I wish we could
my team
standings. Yeah, I can't.
Yes. So how the playoffs work is 4 teams, I believe, make it in total. So 4 out of the 12, if I can remember correctly, it's like the division winners plus like 2 wild cards,
Right.
based on a record make it. There, I'm gonna share my screen really quick.
Yeah, we got the East and the West. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah,
just to pull up my team to give you my thoughts. I made a boo-boo.
I made a couple boo-boos. Don't worry.
Well, lo and behold, news came out yesterday that Von Grissom got sent down to AAA. It's like he was like my 15th or 16th round pick, and I was like, oh, that's wonderful. The season's off to a glorious start. So I had to cut him. But in general, I feel pretty good about my team. Just like
I think it's really solid, honestly.
If you look at it, for whoever's watching this or you, it's young. There's guys who I took probably more swings than I would normally take in a fantasy draft on, like taking Yoshida and taking Corbin. I mean, Yoshida's not young per se, but this is his first year in the majors.
Yeah.
Corbin Carroll, who is one of the top outfielding prospects in baseball, or one of the top hitting prospects in baseball. He flashed a little bit in the pan last year for Arizona. He hit like 260. He stole a few bags, hit a couple home runs. He could be a potential like 25 guy.
That's huge.
Ty France was another, like, I was surprised he kind of fell to where he did. He's not the biggest power bat in the world, but like he made the All-Star team last year. He's going to hit 80, 85 RBIs. He'll hit 20 home runs. He's in a lineup to where they have the potential to score a lot of runs. So he might score a lot of runs, which he didn't for, by the way. And driving runs like Julio Rodriguez, who I have down here. I mean, there's a few weaknesses on my team. I mean, again, second base where I drafted Grissom, I was like, oh, he was very productive last year when Ozzie Albies was injured. He was a player that was supposed to like be the everyday shortstop heading into this season, but apparently defensively it just wasn't like there for him. He wasn't
panning out.
Yeah, it wasn't panning out, and so that's why that was, I think, the main reason why they sent him down to AAA. So it's like, oh, that's wonderful. I mean, but I still have Witt. I don't love it. If I'm being completely honest, I mean, he's going to be playing everywhere. I'm hoping he's playing every day. I mean, we saw signs a little bit last year that his body's breaking down a little bit. I think he's entering his age 34 season.
Yeah.
He's still a contact bat that could still hit 270, 280. He's not going to, of course, not going to be like a power bat, but I mean, he'll be 6 through 9 in that order somewhere. That lineup's really deep, and so like the plate appearance upside isn't great, but he's still gonna have plenty of opportunities, I think, to drive in runs.
Absolutely.
And to possibly steal 15 to 20 bags if he's still got that in him. And so that's kind of why I took him with my, I think, second to last pick. Yeah, second to last pick.
I think no matter how you slice it, I still think that's very good value near the end of the draft.
Yeah. My biggest screw up, which I wrote about in my article, or not screw up, but like a player who I took, but I almost took someone else, and that was when I took Xander, I think in like, I can't remember, the 8th or 9th round or something like that. And I was thinking about grabbing Hader. And like the last second, I was like, no, I'm not going to do it, because I pivoted because there's going to be that like 2 to 3 week, that month-long span for Hader where it's just a completely different player. And I don't know when something like that would come. And so it's like, that's a little bit of a risky pick, but what you're going to get in terms of like the saves and the strikeout production. So I was like fighting myself during that selection. I eventually went with Xander, who is now his teammate. And I keep thinking about it, and I keep more and more regretting it. Not that I will say that I'll regret it in the end, but it's like, damn, like I could have had Josh Hader in the bullpen. And it's like my pitching staff isn't bad. I ate the Spencer Strider garbage a little reluctantly. I don't think his strikeout numbers are going to be as crazy as they were last year. He struck out over 200 batters in like 130 innings. I don't think that's going to happen this year. I'm wondering how Brian Snitker is going to manage his load this year, considering I think it'll be like his first full season where he's up to 150, 175 innings if he stays healthy. So as a number one arm, I think I took him in the 3rd. Like, I like it, but I don't love it. Julio Urias, who is like another reliable arm. I was thinking about picking Castillo, your guy Castillo in the spot. Him, but like, I'm not going to complain. I mean, the Dodgers have still one of the best offenses in baseball. Urias, even though it's not really an important statistic in real life, wins do matter in fantasy because you get points for wins and losses. Although they have devalued it a little bit this year. It used to get 5 points for wins and 5 points.
Really?
Yeah, they changed that this year to where you only get 2 points for wins and losses. And so they devalued it a little bit, but I still think Julio is a reliable arm. Hopefully he's able to stay healthy. I mean, he stayed healthy, but hopefully he's able to maintain his health. With Giolito, I'm buying a bounce back here. I thought he was a little unlucky last year just with some of the other peripherals outside of his ERA. He's another like reliable arm that can get you 150 to 170 innings most years. I'm buying as a 3rd starter. I'm not going to complain about that.
Absolutely.
Just hopefully he's able to bounce back. Ryan Presley is one of the best closers in baseball. He's on one of the he's one of the best closers in baseball on one of the best teams in baseball. So I just like my odds of him racking up 30, 35 saves if he's able to get that many opportunities. Merrill Kelly, not going to wow you with a whole lot of like strikeout stuff, but he's just a reliable arm. He was very good last year, especially down the stretch. Him and Zach Gallen were really good, I think, in the second half of the season for Arizona. Him as my 4th starter. I'm not going to complain about that. I'm buying into the Grayson Rodriguez upside. He's got a lot of swing and miss potential, I think. And so I just kind of like that value late in the draft. The guy I did pick up for Grissom, I did make an acquisition yesterday, was David Robertson. Again, I don't love it. He's, I think, 38, 39, but he's expected to take, I would say, at least to start the season, most of the closer reps.
Yeah, that Diaz, he's going to have a big workload.
Now that Diaz is hurt. And so the Mets are also usually a team, at least it feels like within the first month of the season, they get off to a pretty hot start.
He'll get you points.
I'm just buying that Robertson's able to close a few games here and there. You do get 5 points for saves. And so when people are knocking Trey's team, I do think Trey had a good stable of closers. He had probably the best closer in baseball in Emmanuel Clase. He got who else? He got Kenley. He also got someone else. Who also got Felix Bautista, who I'm high on for the Orioles. So when people are knocking Trey's team, the bullpen I think is like kind of like a small, surprising. Like he has upside there. I did like how I drafted him. I almost did the same with a few of my picks, but I kind of hesitated last moment. But and then Jeffrey Springs, who the Rays just build pitchers out of a factory, guys that you've never heard of in your life, and that was kind of Jeffrey Springs last year. I mean, I know he had a stint in Boston. I think he had a stint somewhere else too. So it's like I knew the game a little bit, but he threw 135 innings last year. which was as long as he's ever had in his career. He was mainly a reliever before Tampa kind of transitioned him into a starter last year, and he was. I don't know if it was like an opener or what, but he was still getting 4 to 5 innings per start. He has good stuff, a good pitch mix. He has good swing and miss stuff. So I don't feel terribly about my team, but like it's also I said it during the draft. I'm saying it now. It's a boomer bust somewhat type team with Yoshida. Like I'm very high on Yoshida, even as
he did very good yesterday.
Yeah, he did good yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm very high on his bat. I think he's got very good bat to ball skills. I think Sox fans are gonna love him. Like
he runs the bases pretty well. Like, yeah, he does a lot of good things.
Yeah, like he's in the most double friendly park in baseball with the Green Monster and that big right field Pesky's pole. Like he hits the ball to all fields. He's not gonna strike out much. He nearly had a 2-to-1 walk to strikeout ratio as last year in Japan.
That's pretty impressive.
He just kind of reminds me of like the type of bat to ball skills that like Stephen Kwan had last year for Cleveland.
I like that comparison.
I kind of get that similar vibe with him. But I'm very high on his bat. I wonder how often he's going to play in the outfield versus DH. I don't really know all about that yet. Like Corbin Carroll is again another young guy. I'm just hoping he pans out as a rookie. If he doesn't, probably kind of screwed. Kyle Raleigh, he hits bombs. He strikes out a lot, but he hits bombs. And so he's another, I think this is going to be his third full major league season, something like that. So he's another young guy. Same with France. Same with, Austin Riley was an MVP candidate. I'm buying.
I think you have a solid team.
Rodriguez. So it's like I think my team's all right. I also faced Trey first, and so
that'll be you guys certainly have your calendar for that.
Yeah, but yeah, no, this was fun. This is again my third or fourth year doing fantasy baseball.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that draft.
I think I've got I did like a ESPN league last year. I did a couple last year. I won one of them, and then I also got like second or third in the other. So, but it's also against random people. This one's more competitive because it's with all of you guys in it. But no, I'm ready for a good season.
Yeah, I can't wait. I think the World. Yeah, I can actually I'll toss it up real quick. I think the World Baseball Classic just as a little appetizer for the MLB season. Obviously, there's little issues to be had with the likes of Edwin Diaz's injury, among other things. But I still think it's been, very good. Just get that. This game is also like a classic.
Yeah, there's been a lot of discussion about the World Baseball Classic and how meaningful it is to the baseball community over the last several days. And that really kind of sparked after the Diaz injury. But I think the World Baseball Classic is awesome. I think all of these countries, even the United States, care about this. I think the atmosphere is phenomenal. We've heard multiple Major League Baseball players, whether they play for the USA or not, say that this is equivalent to the atmosphere of a World Series. I think it was – who was it? It might have been Trey.
It might be Trey Turner.
Might have been Turner. There was someone who said that they've had no.
It's the loudest crowd I've ever been in, or something. It's the biggest home run in the loudest crowd I've ever been in.
Yeah, I know Rosa Reyes commented about it. He's had meaningful hits in the World Series before. All of these guys are saying that this is some of the most impactful baseball they've ever played, and these are guys who have again played in World Series. These guys have been there, done that. It's not like they haven't been there. And so that's why it's all right, why are we trying to take away from this type of especially I heard this point the other day where it's even in for the countries in Latin America, they want to one up each other. And so it's this is a way that they can play for their country and compete against whether it's teammates or friends or whatever who play for other respective countries. They want to be the best country because it's this is you can talk smack to each other in future times. Like, oh, guess what?
Exactly.
My country is like kind of similar to how like European countries would do it for like the World Cup.
Yeah, exactly that.
Like I get it. Like I was talking to a friend the other day about this, and he's not a big baseball guy, and he didn't know about the World Baseball Classic. And I was like, it's not the World Cup, but like for baseball fans and like the baseball community, like this is the World Cup, or it's at least
Very
getting
big.
to that point. Like the World Baseball Classic's only been in existence for I think like 15 years, and so it's not something that's like been existent forever like the World Cup is. But like even at the beginning stages of the World Cup, like it was like it kept growing and growing and
Yeah,
growing.
it kept going up.
And this is the most impactful. This is the most this is the most, I want to say not attraction, not the right word, but like this is the most eyes that the World Baseball Classic has attracted since the inception of it. And I think it's only going to grow more and more from here, kind of like the World Cup did. And again, it's not the World Cup because it's not, I mean, soccer is the most popular sport in the world. Baseball is one of the most popular sports in the world, but it's not the most.
It has a global reach. There's no doubt now that it has. And one of my big takeaways of it is that you look at Lone Depot Field in Miami, and the Marlins have been one of the most poorly run teams in all of baseball over the past decades since their World Series. And no one goes to that park. And now you see that it's filled to the brim with fans yelling their lungs out, going crazy. And one of the nicest fields in baseball, I think. Probably one of the newest baseball parks. Not that you put to very good use, but now, I'll admit I read the New York Post a lot. They wrote a piece about it, and I couldn't agree more. Just an underused baseball stadium now finally being put to its capacity and to its limits and how it should be. Hopefully the Marlins could become a playoff team pretty soon in the next few years, but I think it's just been absolutely amazing to see that place just packed with fans because it's never really been like that before.
Right, and like I think if one place summarized everything the most, it was the walk-off last night.
That was incredible.
How much people care about this, dude, is way more than some people will give it credit for. Yeah. Because again, globally, people care about this a lot. Because again, these are like the best players who play for their country going out and competing on the world stage against other countries. Like this is like, yeah, it might not be the World Series because not everyone from someone's country will play in the world or whatever it is. It might not be the World Series for like some Americans, but like this is the World Series to most other countries. And I would say it's even as impactful the World Series it is like it should be in America.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like tonight we'll get US versus Japan. Like you get Trout and Ohtani, you get guys who like, especially like in Trout's instance, hasn't played many meaningful baseball games in his career. This is the most meaningful baseball that Mike Trout has played in his career in terms of like the stakes of the games, even though, you're not going to get a World Series trophy out of it, but you're still playing meaningful baseball games. It's kind of the same thing with Ohtani, like since he's been a part of the Angels, hasn't played meaningful baseball games that much. We could define meaningful as like a World Series or like an ALCS or an NLCS or whatever it is. The point is, it's like some of these guys haven't played meaningful baseball games in their career, or they haven't like made a World Series in their career, which may not be a fault to them. It probably isn't. Trout, it isn't because he's been spectacular.
He plays hard out tonight, I can tell you that.
Last several years, and he just doesn't have the team around him, which sucks because you want to see a guy like him in the World Series as much as possible. Same with Ohtani, same with some of the other stars in this. But like these guys are playing like highly competitive, like in crazy atmospheres, crazy good atmospheres. Like, who's to say these guys don't want to continue playing in these atmospheres? Like I heard this question, I think yesterday, and it made me think. It was like, do you think this would incentivize guys like Trout or guys like someone else eventually to be like, no, I want to go, not request a trade, or I mean, I guess it'd be a requested trade, but like they want to go play somewhere else where they have the opportunity to play these meaningful games.
Have that atmosphere and everything. That
The
goes
atmosphere
with it.
is like it's insanely good. Like you can't replicate this stuff.
Yeah.
You just can't.
At
least not right now.
Yeah. And
Um,
it's going to be very good. And I forget the name of the pitcher from Japan last night who really, I think they were calling him the next Otani, this guy. I
Naoki
forget his
Sasaki.
name. Yes. He was
Filthy. He's not. I saw somewhere. I don't know the exact eligibility rules for Japan. Like if you play in Japan, like how many years you have to play. But I saw something like he won't be like he might not be able to play, but he might not like come to the major leagues until like 2026 or something like that. Like it's gonna be a while, but like he was filthy. Like bar none, he was filthy. And then like you have Otani, you have Yoshida, you have I think the guy's name's like Murakami, something like that. But like you still have like the Japan team is like very, very good. And the United States is also very, very good. And they have my guy Merrill Kelly out there. Merrill Kelly.
Yeah.
For the major league season. Maybe I'll get some fantasy points out. I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, it should be a fun one tonight.
Yeah.
The United States pitching depth isn't great, but again, they have the
That
bats.
lineup is going to do some damage. The star that shined the brightest against.
Your audio's like cutting out now.
Oh, I like took my AirPod out. Oh.
It's a little fuzzy.
Let me try this again. Maybe, I mean, if you have anything, my audio's starting to.
It's still cutting out a little bit.
It's still cut.
It's like it's weird. It's like it's slow motion. I don't understand it.
I don't know what's going on.
I don't know what the heck is going on. I don't
know what's going on. We could just end it.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
It just started working again.
Oh, it did. All right, cool. I was saying if there's anything else you want to go over, we definitely can, or we can just end it if we're having some technical difficulties.
I don't have anything else to
Yeah, I mean, I think I got everything. It's going to be a great game of World Baseball Classic tonight. We have some great March Madness this week, and MLB's around the corner. NBA's in full swing. It's a beautiful time to be watching sports.
The worst time of year for me is when Major League Baseball starts and the NBA playoffs are going on, like right at the same time.
It is.
I know how much, in like, at least in my day-to-day life with the stuff, like the Heat, like I don't think the Heat are going to make it very far in the playoffs, but it's still a pain in the butt trying to watch MLB game, but also trying. But
I know. I mean, it's a good problem to have the Yankees and the Heat going on at the same time, and nothing, no shortage of things to talk about or think about or write about. Obviously on our end at Vendetta, but yeah, I mean, here I'll close it out, I guess. But to everyone watching, we hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back next Tuesday with another edition of the Vendetta Sports Media Show. Matt,
like and subscribe, man.
Like and subscribe, and we'll see you all next Tuesday.